I'm Tim Malloy with the Palm Beach Civic Association, working in conjunction with the Town of Palm Beach Police and Fire Rescue. And here's the very latest. It is Wednesday, April the 8th. There has been no significant jump in the number of reported cases of the coronavirus in the Town of Palm Beach. It stands at 15. 2 of our residents have succumbed to it. This comes with the advisory that number will jump dramatically. The reported cases number will jump dramatically because the testing has become much more vigorous. So don't be shocked if you see those numbers go up in the next week and a half. And that is why we are here to tell you that this is a critical time right now. We're in a shelter-in-place situation, which means, really specifically, stay in your house, stay in your condo, stay in your co-op. Don't go out unless you need to go to the doctor, to get food, to the vet, or if you need to take a short walk or exercise on some level. But we're really encouraging people right now to stay indoors. That's the reason I'm wearing this right now. It's a balaclava. It's basically a ski mask. We're being advised now by medical people that even if you're on your bike or you're walking, that you have something to cover your face for safety. And it should be 2-ply. This is a standard like ski mask, but if you can see through it with a flashlight, it's not as good as it should be. So anyway, that's why I'm wearing it right now. My colleague, reporter Wendy Rutledge, spoke with Dr. David Dotson today, as you well know, infectious disease specialist, a local guy, terrific guy. And here's the very latest from him on where we stand.
Tim, we have all been hearing a good deal about a drug that has been used for the treatment of malaria that some doctors are saying may be a viable treatment for COVID-19. So we reached out to infectious disease expert Dr. David Dotson to get his take on whether he thinks that's an appropriate use for hydroxychloroquine.
Dr. Dotson, thanks so much for your time this morning. Can you give us a little insight into this malaria drug, hydroxychloroquine? What is your thought about its use for the treatment of COVID-19?
First of all, there are 2 drugs that have been talked about. One is chloroquine, which is the classic malaria drug. And then hydroxychloroquine is a similar chemical, but that is used for rheumatologic diseases like rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. The brand name of hydroxychloroquine is Plaquenil. Both those medications have been around for a long time. We've used them for, either malaria or rheumatologic diseases for a long time. So we do have some track record with them. The problem is there are a list of side effects that can potentially occur with hydroxychloroquine. And I think that's where some of the hesitancy from the scientific side is coming. There can be cardiac arrhythmias, prolongation of the QT interval. There can be retinopathy, blindness issues. There can be rashes and other allergic phenomenons. Generally, it's safe and a lot of people use it chronically, but there is a potential for harm. That's what people are worried about.
Now, what about its combination with the Z-Pak?
Early on, there was one study from France that looked at about, 10 or 15 people. And the researcher gave hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin to the 15 people. And he measured their viral load, the amount of virus in each patient. And it went down with the hydroxychloroquine azithromycin group. And that was the genesis of all this. That was where all this started. What we've seen is that there's been a lot of interest in hydroxychloroquine because we don't have any other treatment for coronavirus. And right now, because we don't have anything else, it's commonly given to patients who are very sick with it. But because we don't have any controlled trials, we don't know for sure that it works. So that seems to be the problem.
Have you had the occasion to use it on any of your patients, or if not, would you use it on any of your patients?
Well, today, right now, yes, I would definitely use it if somebody was very sick. And I've had patients who purchased it, on their own and have used it. The problem is that with coronavirus, 80% of people will get through it and do fine after being ill without any medication at all. If you add a medication to somebody who's already going to get well, you can't necessarily say it was the medication. It might have just been their own immune system that kicked in. So that's where controlled trials come in. We have to give it to some patients and have a control group and then see if there's any difference.
What about its availability? If you wanted to give it to a patient, would you be able to get it?
Yes, the hospitals can administer it. And actually, I think the place for it right now is if you're sick enough to be in the hospital, and particularly if you're starting to get worse, that's probably the time to be thinking about giving it. Because in the hospital, we can monitor your heart and we can look for toxicities and things like that. But if you're out in the community and just suffering through a coronavirus illness with fever and cough, it's probably better just to let your body fight it off itself before adding another potentially problematic drug to the mix.
Excellent point. Thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it, Dr. Dodson.
Oh, sure. And I just want to say, I hope it works. I think we're all looking for something to be able to fight this virus. But a scientist has to give recommendations based on science. And when we have the clinical trials that show whether it does or doesn't work, I'm sure all of us will be happy if it does work. But until that point, until we've done the studies, a scientist or a doctor cannot, in good conscience, recommend it. We hope, but hope isn't the basis of a scientific recommendation.
Finally, we wanted to update you on some better news related to the COVID-19 outbreak. In a statement at this afternoon's Town of Palm Beach Community Update, Fire Rescue Chief Daryl Donato said that he keeps in very close contact with area hospitals and that as of this week, he believes local bed capacity is adequate and that area hospitals are, in his words, ready for an increasing demand for hospital beds.
What is going to happen to local merchants? A lot of people have just flat out gone out of business. They're applying for government assistance and don't have it yet. Yvette Gill owns a small salon. She's well known to the people of Palm Beach. She's out of business as her employees right now. And she has concerns, but she's doing what you're supposed to do right now. And I had a brief conversation with her.
It's a little bit stressful. I wake up every day just thinking about, what to do next. How can I figure things out? And I've been very close watching the news and, this whole relief programs. I've applied for every single one of them.
Right.
In hopes of getting something so I can be able to maintain my bills at the business. My first thing that I did was speak to my landlord and see what they can do for us, at least until my business is opened again.
Right.
And they were able to do a deferment on our rent for the month of April, and then we're going to touch bases back for the month of May.
And what about federal government and help in the terms of cash?
With the federal government, I applied for the economic relief program, and they said within 2 to 3 days you'll hear word back, or you'll have the money, a $10,000 advance in your checking account. This is day 9, and I haven't heard a thing. Also, with the PPP, I waited literally by the phone for my CPA to call me and let me know that it's open to the public. I bank with Wells Fargo right now, and I sent my paperwork the minute it opened up, and I just got an email from them yesterday stating that there's going to be a lot of delays due to the high demand.
Time now for Maggie Zeidman, our council member, former head of nursing at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York, who has been sort of our voice of reason and advice throughout this. And here is her latest update today.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, this is a very busy week. Passover, Good Friday, Easter, Holy Thursday. We have a lot going on, and here we are, staying at home, away from our families, most of us, away from grandchildren and children and brothers and sisters, moms and dads. So I want to talk to you about that, because we've made a choice. We made a choice to do the right thing. And when we talk about the numbers that could be, how many people could die? Well, the top number for us here happens to be as high as, for Florida, 18,000, as low as 1,700. Again, that's the University of Washington statistics based on their modeling. Now remember, though, modeling is only as good as the information is accurate that's being put into it. But it's based on the measures that governments, towns, municipalities have taken, and they take all of that into consideration. So the projection for Florida is 7,000 in terms of mortality. But we made a decision. Here we are, it's the holidays. We made a decision. We have a choice. And I think we've done a very good job. So a friend again asked me today the same old question. Maggie, don't you have anything good to say? Well, yeah, I do. I do have something good to say. good for all of you, good for us, that for the last 3 weeks, that's how long it's been, for the last 3 weeks, we have done what we're supposed to do. We've done what we've been asked to do. And I think that this town and the leadership in this town and influential people in this town and the organizations in this town have done a mighty darn good job. That's what I think. And I think that it is good. And I think that we will see results from that. If you think back on it, in March, mid-March, there were lots of events planned. Can you imagine what might have happened? Just imagine what might have happened had we had 300, 200, 170 people together sitting at a table, enjoying a luncheon or enjoying a dinner, dancing, having a great time like we like to have here in Palm Beach. But imagine what would have happened. And yet we had the courage, this town had the courage to do what it needed to do. And so that's the message to all of you, is thank you. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for being courageous. That is a good message. And I also want to say happy Passover to all of our Jewish brothers and sisters. And also happy Easter this coming weekend to all of our Christian brothers and sisters. So let's feel good about what we've done. And don't give up. Keep it up. That's what we need to do. We need to continue to do this. This is the blunt instrument that stops the transmission. Staying away from other people. I know it's hard. You're doing a great job. And I thank you for having the courage to do so, all of you. Businesses, hotels, restaurants, and just us at home, what we've done. So thank you very much.
Passover here now, Easter just a few days away, a time of brotherhood, sisterhood, fellowship, and people being close together. How to handle that? We talked to Rabbi Shiner today.
Tonight begins the first night of Passover, and we know that with everyone sheltering in place, it is possibly going to feel a little isolating, maybe even a little bit lonely, certainly much different than when a family gathers together for the celebration. So we spoke to Rabbi Shiner from the Palm Beach Synagogue to get his thoughts on observing Passover safely during this era of COVID-19.
Rabbi Shiner, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time on this very busy day. We know everyone is sheltering in place. We hope they are. And we also know that tonight begins Passover. We were just looking for you to give a little guidance as to how you can be observant of Passover and still be safe in this era of COVID-19. Can you give us your thoughts?
So I want to take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy Passover and a happy holiday. This is a time of freedom, and it's a little unusual to be spending a holiday of freedom feeling confined and quarantined. But we know that health is always the most important priority in Judaism. Preservation of life is paramount, and therefore we have to follow all the guidelines of the CDC and stay quarantined, remain socially distant. But being socially distant means physically distant, but it doesn't mean emotionally and spiritually distant. God forbid. We should always be spiritually and emotionally connected to one another, and maybe even more so today because we're physically distant. Whether you're sitting down to a Passover Seder by yourself or with your spouse or with your immediate children, always know that the Jewish community worldwide is sitting at their tables, and we're one people and we're really sitting at one long table. And try to visualize that and imagine that and know that you're not alone, because from one end of the earth to the other, Jews are celebrating throughout the globe. And we're all sitting at one big table, celebrating our communal and our national freedom the day we became a nation. But I want to tell you something interesting. This is the most authentic Seder ever, because the first year, the night that the Jews went out of Egypt, they were also quarantined in their homes before their exodus. And the Bible says they should stay in their home and not go out. So we could connect even more with the original story this year than any other year. And so tonight we'll be sitting with our immediate family members, and maybe that's the message this year, that we have to go back to basics and rebuild our nation from the ground up. We're all sitting in place and waiting for this virus, this pandemic to end, and it's difficult. It's very frustrating, it could be even saddening. But thank God we all have what to wait for. We're looking forward to resuming our lives in good health and happiness, and we will have many happy days ahead of us. We just have to get through this together with our spirit intact and our faith strong. will come through this and we will resume happy and joyous lives. So again, wishing everyone, myself, my wife, Deanie, our 6 children will be sitting around the Seder table tonight, and this Palm Beach Synagogue, we wish everyone a happy Passover and happy holidays.
Again, we remain in a shelter-in-place situation, which very specifically means stay indoors. Unless you absolutely have to go out, don't go outside. This is the peak point right now. The next 10 days or so, as well, where Florida is supposed to hit its very peak of a number of infectious cases. Don't make the mistake of being someone who puts himself in jeopardy. Wear a face mask if you can. We'll leave you with a good shot last night of the moon. A peaceful shot, tranquility. Be well. We'll talk to you tomorrow.